Hey guys, what's going on? Tyrauku here. Hope you're all doing good. Today, we got a video that's going to be, well, the champ versus champ, same situation, same like setup, but these two champions are going to be quite a bit different. So both of these champions, one of them is a defense-based champion being Solas, and one of them is an attack-based champion being Hurndig. Now, the reason why I want to compare these two champions is I think they're both amazing in a lot of different areas of the game. Specifically, Arena is where I've tested both of these champions a lot. I'm going to go ahead and go over where I think each one's better, and then we'll jump into their skills, jump into where they're actually being used and like showcase some of that stuff. But in case you're here, just for my opinion, I'll go ahead and go over that. But like I said, looking at the gear, they're going to be very different. So first off, if you have a really good Savage set for an attack-based nuker, then your Herndig is likely going to be cutting ahead as it is, right? He's already going to be better than a Soulless. So this is what my Herndig looks like, and this is what my Soulless looks like. But on the flip side of that is if you have a very good defense-based Savage set, assuming you're going Savage or just defense-based nuker damage dealer gear in general, then Solas is going to be your better option. Another thing that's going to weigh that is who do you use as your speed booster? So there's obviously that the champion who does increased defense, a rare. His name is Doomscreech. So Doomscreech does do the turn meter boost plus a 60% increased defense. Basically, Seeker for increased defense, right? Increased defense on an ability, whereas Seeker does increased defense when he's hit with a crit. So if you use something like that, that works out good. For me, I use Siphi and I have Kymar as a speed leader. So this works out perfect, getting that increased defense buff. However, if you run, say, an Arbiter or Gorgrab, the increased attack is going to lend itself obviously better to Herndig. And I think most people are going to benefit more from an attack-based nuker because it's easier to get increased attack buff, I feel like, than it is to get an increased defense buff, as well as keeping your turn meter going and staying speed 2 with the rest of your team. Now, if you have Kymar, the speed tune doesn't matter as much, hence the reason why my Soulless is 163 speed, where now my Herndig is 200 or 196 speed. So I actually use Herndig for campaign farming as well, but I'm gonna jump into that in just a second, where I use each of them. But overall, I think the setup of your team is going to heavily depend on, or heavily determine, better yet, which one of these nukers are going to be better for you. Because obviously, if you have the increase defense or increased attack for either one of these champions, it's going to greatly affect their damage based on what their damage is, well, based on, right? So that's first thing out of the way. Second thing, Soulless is amazing for the arena. He's specifically amazing if you have Siphi, or an increased defense champion, as well as Kymar. The reason why I say Kymar is so valuable with Soulless is the issue that happens is when you're in the arena, Solas's A3 ability has a 4-turn cooldown. So when you use this ability, I'll go ahead and show you guys an example. It hits so extremely hard. Like, I'm going to one-shot all these champions. Maybe not Ithos, but I'm pretty sure I'll just blow right through all of his stuff anyways. Solas's A3 ability increases the damage dealt by 10% for each debuff on the target. So each of those targets had 2 debuffs from Madame Ceres. So my Solas's damage is being increased by 20% on each of those champions. So he dealt, what, 196,000 or something like that to each of the enemies? Like, he deals some crazy amount of damage. However, his A3 ability is on a 4-turn cooldown. So once he blows everything on that, now what's he going to do? It hits crazy hard, 150,000 damage, but now he has to rely on this A3 ability, assuming I didn't have Kymar. So since I have Kymar here, I can go ahead and reset, use this A3. But let's pretend I didn't. So I'd use this ability, which it attacks 3 times at random. Each hit has a 75% chance to remove a buff, which would be nice, but I can't remove the ally protection anyways, and it places a provoke. Now, obviously, this requires accuracy, right? So removing the debuff, placing the provoke, same thing with this A3, it does require accuracy. So you're probably not going to build in with a lot of accuracy, but I do shoot for mine to have like closer to 200. That'd be ideal, because then he's going to be applying the debuff pretty often, at least against the nuke champions on the enemy's team. But we'll use this A2 ability. It hits fairly hard, right? So it hits for 14,000, 5,000, but now look. So we're going to pretend that we didn't have Kymar in the team. So now Solas just uses A2. Say if this was a Duchess, now you're in a bad spot because now you didn't reset your abilities. That A3 ability is on now a 2-turn cooldown. So now you have to use the A1 here. And then you're going to have to use the A1 one more time, which had that been, say, a Duchess and something else, that would have been a very clunky match. And Soulless's momentum, I guess is what we're going to call that, just greatly gets affected because his A3 ability is on such a long cooldown. So I think if you have this team set up, you're going to mow through most teams no problem, right? Like if you have Siphi, Kymar, well, I highlighted the wrong person. If you have Kymar and Siphi, The reset for Soulless works out perfect. Siphi synergizes with Soulless perfectly. But if you don't have these two champions and you're running kind of like a Doom Screech plus maybe a Arbiter for the speed aura or whatever else gives you a 30% speed aura, it's going to feel very odd. Even if I had Arbiter in here. So if I had Arbiter, let's say I did this, okay? The speed tune is going to be a little bit out of whack. This team, I'll probably one-shot, okay? But assuming I didn't one-shot, now I don't have that reset and I can't keep up that pressure that I have with Kymar. So Solas is great if you're looking for a good one-shot champion, but he definitely loses a lot of momentum. And on the flip side of that, Hurndig is a champion who I think is amazing against teams especially that you don't think you can one-shot. Okay, so this team right here, it even has a Force Affinity champion. Solas is perfectly fine against that, right? Because he's Void. Hurndig, however, is going to be weak affinity there. So obviously that's something to talk about as well, being strong or weak affinity. But since Herndig is weak affinity here, we're probably not going to kill everybody, or at least hopefully not. And hopefully this allows me to showcase what kind of can happen. Now, I could use Kymar or I could use Siphi. Either one's going to be fine here. But just to kind of get the point across without using Kymar, I'm going to give an example with Herndig, okay? Now, if I use Kymar, I could reset Herndig's A3, but that kind of defeat the purpose of showing you the amount of momentum, consistency, pressure that Herndig can keep, okay? So we're going to use the A3. The Madam's out of tune, but okay, that's perfectly fine. Now we do have increased attack and increased defense. Increased defense is doing nothing for him. The increased attack obviously is benefiting him, but use the A3 on Duchess right here. I mean, he does perfectly fine, okay? They had no debuffs whatsoever on him. And that's a big difference you'd see with Soulless, that if they had no debuffs, he would do a little bit less damage. He'd still probably one-shot most of them anyways, but it is going to be less damage. So we got the decreased defense up now. We're going to go ahead and sleep Arbiter. Now Herndig, let's go ahead and say, just for the sake of this video, let's say we had everything on cooldown, okay? So pretend this ability was on cooldown as well. So uses A1 right here, which hits very hard as well, 114,000 damage. You're not going to see that kind of damage from Soulless, from his A1 ability. Crazy high amount of damage there. And now look, this A3 ability is back off cooldown. So we have an AoE here, we have an AoE here, very, very solid. Now we can keep that pressure going and wipe out the enemy team. So as you can see, as a little bit of an example there, Herndig's pressure that he can keep is much, much better than Soulless. Granted, Soulless isn't going to die. Like if you're in a long fight, Soulless is going to take a lot of damage. That massive shield that he has, he's going to be easy to keep alive. He could probably make more sense on a defensive type arena team than Herndig, because Herndig has the opposite effect, is he's squishy, right? Being a defense-based champion, you're going to survive more in, say, Doom Tower, areas like that. Faction Wars, he's going to do really good for wave controls. That is being Soulless. Any PvE content where you're going to be taking damage, Soulless is going to cut ahead there. If you want him to take damage, control the waves, still bring some damage for your team, he's going to be perfect. If you're looking for a damage-dealing champion who's going to do very good in the arena, I think Herndig is going to be more beneficial to more players because he does so well with Arbiter, who gives the increased attack plus the speed boost, and she's free, right? You get her from the missions. So I think Herndig is going to be really good there. Herndig is amazing for Faction Wars. Honestly, if you have these champions, I would definitely say take on both to 6-star. Level them both up. They're both incredible. The other benefit, though, with Herndig is Nightmare Stage 6, okay? Let's go ahead and put Herndig in here. I don't know why I got rid of the food champs. I need the food champs. So chapter 12, well, chapter, what is this chapter? 12-6, yeah, chapter 12, stage 6. The reason being is because there's no, the affinity is good for Herndig, being a magic affinity champion. Champions are a little bit easier to go through. He's not going to be 100% with the gear I have him in right now, but he does pretty good. And I'll show you guys his masteries as well. But he does this pretty consistently. Soulless, on the other hand, is not going to be able to do this as well. And I'll show you guys what Soulless does as well. But maybe if I change his masteries to like reduce the cooldown whenever he kills an enemy, maybe he could possibly squeeze it out. I just don't think Soulless is going to do nearly 16 seconds, right? Herndig can be used in a lot more areas, in my opinion, than Soulless. But if you're looking for a very good arena nuker who does a ton of damage and goes perfect with Kymar and Siphi, team combinations like that, Soulless is going to be incredible. But when it comes to a champion who I recommend to take as a 6-star, I think Herndig is probably going to be the one I recommend to most people. Like I said, I use Soulless 99% of the time in the arena on offense attacks, okay? I think he's an incredible champion. When I go against enemy Candraphons, he's perfect because he has that big shield on him. Candraphon typically doesn't one-shot him, whereas if I use Herndig, he gets one-shot all the time. So if you expect for the enemy to take a turn, Soulless may outweigh Herndig in that situation, especially if you don't have anybody like Necrit or anybody to keep Herndig alive. He is more difficult to keep alive, definitely. Soulless, though, has his benefits. Apparently, he can do Chapter 12, Stage 6 as well. I mean, he's Void Affinity, so it's going to be a little bit, he's not going to have to worry about the affinities. He may even do 12-3. It's going to be slower, but he is a slower champion right now. So he is 160 speed. I'm actually kind of surprised to see that, to be honest. I definitely thought he would not do that fast. And since we're here right now, you know, I might as well go ahead and see if he could do this with some speed boots on. So this would be like a blooper to add at the end of the video. Let's go ahead and see. But that's my opinions on these two champions. Let me show the masteries one more time. He also doesn't, he does have Whirlwind of Death, so he's getting more speed from that. So perfect. Let's see if Soulless can become a speed farmer for Nightmare Campaign, because honestly, I didn't really think he could. 100% honest. So we'll try this on. We lose 12% crit rate. YOLO. Let's go ahead and try it, okay? Maybe this cuts some time off, maybe not. But like I said, he loses some crit rate, so he's not 100%. 90% should be fine for the campaign, though. Provokes everybody. Could actually be pretty cool. Obviously, if you want to gear him specifically for the campaign, you'd probably go with a Cycle of Violence and build him for that. He's a great arena farmer. Never actually thought about him doing this. I may not have even needed to use Hurndig. I may be able to lower Hurndig's speed again and use Soulless to farm Nightmare Campaign, because he's going to be more consistent as far as staying alive for sure, right? Like, it's going to be much harder to kill Soulless than it is to kill Herndig. So he's placing those provokes. Awesome. Makes them have to only use their A1 ability. Very, very nice. Sometimes we miss the crits, but hey, I mean, 37 seconds, not great, but he even did it at 167 speed. So while it's not great, it's pretty consistent, pretty good. So hey, I guess we learned something new. I learned something new. I didn't realize Soulless could do that. I guess I just thought he'd be too slow for it. But I mean, it makes sense. He has a ton of defense. So built as arena nuker, he can do it perfectly fine. So that's my opinion, guys, like I said, on Soulless versus Herndig. Which one do you think is better where? Do you agree with my opinions? Do you have a difference of opinions? One other thing to mention, Herndig does have, and I should have mentioned this sooner, Herndig does have the benefits of bringing decreased defense, decreased accuracy. Also, the weaken and HP burn. They're conditional. The HP burn is conditional. He also has a fully depletes turn meter, but in a lot of areas, if you need the debuff champions, maybe not more beneficial necessarily. I guess if you already have decreased defense and weaken and HP burn, then Herndig doesn't bring anything extra. But if you need these debuffs, Herndig brings them. Very nice benefit. Full turn meter reduction as well. So they both have their benefits in different dungeons. When it comes to the arena, that's my opinions on both of these champions. I think Herndig is going to be more solid for most players in the game, to be honest. But Soulless is an amazing champion. Also has several different uses as well. And his base speed, not nearly as bad as it used to be. Now, unfortunately, Herndig, well, I guess fortunately, if you use him as your nuker, does have 13% higher base crit damage. But yeah, guys, that's my opinion on Soulless versus Herndig. Which one are you taking to 60 if you haven't already? Hopefully you guys get both of these champions. I think both of these champions are definitely top tier, each with their own benefits though. So thank you all very much for watching this video. Don't forget to click the giveaway video that I did 2 days ago. If you guys want to enter that to have a chance to win that account, definitely do that. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Once we get to 8,000 subscribers, I'll be giving away that account. So thank you guys again for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.